With its special effects, elaborate fighting scenes, and a roster of mythical monsters, the Pirates of the Caribbean film franchise has spent millions of dollars creating some of the most immersive and magnificent visual sequences in modern cinema. But how do these movies bring their characters from the computer to the big screen? How do they look without CGI? Keep watching to find out. Number 1, before getting into some examples, it's important to point out that the massive difference in technological advances between the first Pirates of the Caribbean film, which came out in 2003, and the most recent installment in the franchise, Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales. It's hard to believe that the first Pirates of the Caribbean film came out almost 20 years ago, and the advances of technology and CGI effects between the earlier and later films is pretty extraordinary. Whilst this video is focused on how the film appears without the added CGI effects, we can't help but imagine how the earlier films could have turned out with all the CGI effects and endless possibilities in cinematography which exist today. Visual effects supervisor on Dead Men Tell No Tales, Gary Brosnavich, admitted that the CGI and special effects that make the more recent films so immersive just simply weren't possible for the earlier films. Brosnavich, who also supervised the film's visual effects for the 2011 blockbuster On Stranger Tides, said, "On a technical level, we have much greater confidence in our ability to create CG water on a high volume and direct it to the demands of the filmmakers." Brosnavich said in an interview with Inverse, "On a creative level, the industry has matured. There's a lot of capable hands that can pick up a higher volume of work and create environments or city extensions. And you know that you won't be wrestling the nitty-gritty stuff we were back then. This advancement in technology has made all kinds of CGI special effects possible." Number 2, for example, Johnny Depp de-aged. Fans of the pirate franchise might have noticed that in Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales, the iconic Captain Jack Sparrow, played by Johnny Depp, appeared in many flashback sequences. In these sequences, Depp appears to be much younger than his real self, certainly much younger than he was when the film was shot and produced. Depp, who was at the time 54 years old, appears with a youthful, almost baby-faced appearance during the film's flashbacks. Now, we know that Depp hasn't yet mastered the art of real-life time travel, or was the film supposed to be a Peter Pan remake? No, the youthful Johnny Depp that you saw in the cinema was, in fact, CGI. Using footage of Johnny Depp in the film 21 Jump Street, the visual effects team managed to de-age Depp for the flashback sequences. Gary Brosnavich, the visual effects supervisor for the film, explained how the film pulled off this legendary CGI stunt. The big thing people have a difficult time wrapping their head around is that it was still Johnny doing the performance. Brosnavich says, "Johnny would do the performance, and then we would have the body double watch Johnny to the smallest detail. What that gave us, the VFX team, was a target for what younger skin looks like, how it reacts, how sadly young flesh moves differently to older flesh, gave us raw material. And on top of that, we would take parts of the other." Although a body double was used in order to recreate some of Depp's performances, Brosnavich confirms that he was still the real Depp underneath, and apparently this is just the beginning of this kind of facial CGI in cinema. I can already tell you there are films coming out in the next year where you'll be seeing a lot more of it. Brosnavich revealed it's an interesting use of the technology and the artist making it. There's a novelty to bringing someone back or recreating something. Brosnavich added that this novelty will soon become normal, maybe even tragically a solution. For example, if unfortunate events occur during filming, people will do more creative work with it and it'll become part of the story. That's where everybody's heading with it. Number 3, Javier Bardem's Salazar. Creating the infamous Salazar, the franchise's antagonist played by Javier Bardem, proved to be an interesting challenge for the film's visual effects team. As you'll know if you've seen the films, Salazar is something of a combination between a zombie and a pirate, with a cratered, unhuman-like face and half his head blown off. In addition, Salazar and his crew are supposed to look like they're constantly underwater, even when they're battling it out with the pirates on dry land. Only 6 years ago, when Brosnavich was supervising the visual effects for the 4th film, having a character like Salazar would simply not have been possible. Today, Brosnavich can take for granted that the original idea for Salazar can make it from its paper vision to the big screen. Being able to take a character like Salazar and confidently say, of course we can make him. That to me is something maybe 5 or 6 years ago I'd not be quite so confident, he admitted. So, how was Salazar pulled off? In order to get things right, Brozovich and the visuals team hired a stuntman, put him in Salazar's costume, and employed the use of an outdoor home swimming pool to record reference footage. I jumped in with a GoPro on a monopod, and the stuntmen spent the whole day acting out basic behaviors of someone on a ship, he explained. Walks, runs, fight sequences, dialogues. He shook his head, he looked up and down. We spent hours in there shooting a reference of what a person looks like with similar characteristics underwater. That became the basis for all the digital prosthetics later. We referred to it all the way through the post. It became a good kind of template for us. Does being aware of the background process make the character of Salazar any less frightening? We have to admit, kind of. Number 4. Now, we couldn't have a video about Pirates in the Caribbean and CGI without mentioning the legendary Davy Jones. If you think the process of creating Salazar was impressive, you'll be shocked at this one. Whilst the squid is completely CGI, creating this iconic Pirates character is still a hefty job for the visuals team. The character, who's played by Bill Nighy, is created through motion sensors, with Nighy obliged to dress up in a bodysuit with markers all over his body and face to track his movements and expressions. This means that yes, whilst filming any sequences with Jones, the actors are not facing off against a giant squid, but instead a polka-dotted Bill Nighy. Whilst Davy Jones is surely one of most successfully executed CGI creations in modern cinema, we're sure there must be plenty of footage on that bloopers reel. Number 5. Undead Johnny Depp. We all remember the scene with the undead Johnny Depp suffering the curse of the undead. Well, that was all CGI. Yes, turns out that the famous undead curse upon Captain Jack Sparrow was in fact fully computer generated, although you'd be forgiven for thinking it was truly Depp behind all the makeup and prosthetics. According to animation supervisor Hal Hickel, the goal was to intentionally deceive the audience. In a behind-the-scenes feature, he revealed the reaction we were trying to get from the audience was to say, "Oh my god, look what they did to Johnny Depp," not, "Oh, look at the cool computer-generated creature." Well played, visuals team, you got us. Number 6, finishing up the video. We have to talk about the famous Kraken. You won't be shocked to learn that yes, the gigantic sea monster who terrorizes humans and pirates alike was of course computer generated. But how did the film execute this fantastic monster? In the making of Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, the Kraken was brought to life by an army of visual effects artists at Industrial Light and Magic, with live action elements combined with the visual effects plans. The Kraken sequences were extensively pre-visualized. Visual effects supervisor John Knoll explained, and we were literally shooting specific pieces to conform to that animatic blueprint. The Kraken scenes are technically very complex because there's a lot of interaction with water, and we see shots looking down the hull of the ship with a dozen tentacles swarming around. Picking characters off the deck, putting the composites together is very difficult. Every shot takes months of effort. If you're a fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean facts and trivia, it might also interest you to know that the Kraken's appearance in Dead Man's Chest marks the first time the legendary creature has been realized using modern computer graphics. These graphics were also created by ILM, who also created the undead skeletons in The Curse of the Black Pearl. So there you have it. When it comes to CGI and special effects, we have to admit that the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise are the MVPs. We can only imagine how cool the earlier films could have been. The same technology existed at the same time. What do you think of the effects? Have you been fooled by the franchise's clever visual effects? Let us know down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more film content coming up in the future.